Hi, I'm Phillip Santillan, pastor of Clarity Church, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen or view this podcast of a message from one of our Sunday gatherings. Before we get going here, I just wanted to communicate to you the deep conviction we have regarding this message. This free message resource is not intended as a broadcast ministry, which would create virtual attenders listening from home rather than getting involved in their local church. We hope that no matter where you are on your faith journey, that this podcast is only supplemental to your relationship with the Lord and in no way replaces the local church that you should be plugged into or the pastor God has put over your life to lead you and care for your soul. So please enjoy this incomplete portion of this past week's gathering. We have prayed that God would use it in a profound way in your life and that from it, you would gain clarity on who Christ is. Hey, well, welcome and good morning. Kudos to you for not noticing race. My name is Phil, and I am Asian. And if this is your first time here with us, if you're a guest with us here at Kimberly Lane Elementary School, we're Clarity, and I get the wonderful opportunity and honor to call myself the pastor of this wonderful group of people who just love God and love others and want to see you find clarity in who Christ is. And if you're joining us for the first time, the reason why we even show this is just this idea. We're talking about everything that we're all sort of connected to, which is this idea of work. Now, some of you are in high school and you don't get that, and some of you had a job, but all of us at one time or another are going to have to experience this reality of work. And sometimes it's really funny, isn't it? And sometimes it's really serious. And last week we talked about how to deal with difficult people at work, and basically the message was give up. No, I'm teasing. You have to listen to it. If you want to listen to it, it's more than give up. You can always visit our website, rockatworkseries.com, and those series, that'll be a direct link to our website, and you can watch those messages as long as there's an internet, and as long as you can keep on affording to pay for those domains at 99 cents a pop. It's pretty cool. But anyways, hey, everyone know that this is the football season, right? Anyone jazzed about football season? Anyone jazzed about football season? Well, football season got me thinking about some of the classic rivalries that exist in sports, and just in culture in general. And here are a few noted rivalries that exist today. I'll name one, and tell me if you can tell me what the rival is. So here's Coke versus... Pepsi. Right. How about this one? Plants versus... Some of you have little kids and iPads. So Plants versus Zombies. Okay, it's a game. Okay, Chipotle versus... Nothing, right? I know, right? Nothing compares to Chipotle. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Correct. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, here's another one. Mac versus PC. Mac versus PC. How about this? Nickelback versus music, right? I don't know. Anyways, I'm just teasing if you like Nickelback. It's all right. Anyways, cool. But let me tell you about another rivalry that often sets itself up in our own lives. And it's this rivalry of work versus family. And there is a tension that you probably have felt at one time or another in your life. And the reason why I know this is true is because one simple fact in life. And so if you have your programs inside, you'll find a lot of different stuff, but you'll find our notes for this week. And because this week we're starting our communities, you also find discussion questions in there. If you're not part of a community, you can use this as an opportunity to kind of dig deeper into understanding what we're talking about here. So just use that as a resource. But if you get out your message notes, this is the first point here. This is the fact. It's the facts of life. Facts of life. Anyways, some of you are too young to even know that song. You take the good, you take the bad, you take the... It's the... Nobody who knows that song? Come on. You just don't want to admit you're old enough to know. All right. See, anyways. All right, let's keep on moving. All right. Fact. There is not enough time to do everything. There's not enough time to do everything. This is a simple fact of life. This is not even a Christian or non-Christian thing. The reality for all of us is that there is not enough time in the day to get everything done that we would like to get done. And you don't even have to be someone who's married with kids to understand this reality. There is not enough time to do everything. Now, if you're someone who strives to find balance between family life and work life, here's what I want you to do. Start this off. I just want you to ask yourself a question. Ask yourself this. What if I was to stay at work until everything got done? Every email answered, every phone call returned, every potential client followed up with, every last hole dug, every board nailed down, every potential investment researched. You would never leave, right? You'd never leave work. Now, on the flip side, ask yourself this question. What if you were to stay home until everything that needed your attention was completed? You would never go to work, would you? Even just this week, my wife was like, I see her walking around the house, she's like, what's the matter, honey? Like, what's wrong? The house can never get clean like I wanted it to. And so I spent hours. I cleaned the oven, I got on my knees, and I wiped the floor, and I got it done. And I was like, it was spotless. And she walked in, like, what's wrong? Living room. I'm like, there's never enough time. We never have enough time to do anything. Now, what if you only went to work when everyone's love tank was full? And everybody got all the time from you that they wanted and that they needed. And your kids said, Mom, Dad, I think we've played enough. Why don't you go to work? That doesn't never happen, right? That never happened. I'm over here with Mia in the nursery. They play Daddy Play-Doh. I'm like, honey, I got to go over and do this thing. She's like, Play-Doh. I'm like, I'm sorry. I got to preach about how to balance work and family. I'm just going to leave that. I don't know. For those of you, I do want to pause and say, for those of you who may not be in a life stage where you feel like you have to balance work and family, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take careful note of what we are talking about today, and here's the reason why. You may feel like what we're talking to you about may not apply to you, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine what life for you would be like if your mom or your dad took the time to sort out the priorities of their life so that they had a balance of work and family time, so that you can say that your parents were people who kept their promises, who showed up at your games. So you can say that your parent was always present, but at the same time provided for your family. What if for you, in your growing up experience, whoever it was that was your guardian, your parent, took the time to actually think through how to balance family life and work? How would that change the way you see your parents? How would that change the way you see your mom? How would that change the way today you relate to your parents? How would that, maybe for some of you, because this is deeply emotional, for some of you who are even parents, how would it probably change the way you even view what it means to be a parent today? How would that change things for you? And the reason why even talking about this, even for me, I think my parents did an okay job, but my dad worked 80 hours a week, and Asian dad. You don't know that because there's no Asians here, but I do. And he just worked really. Some of you are German, right? You know what German dad's like, or Russian or any background. Anyways, I'm throwing all the ethnicities out there. And it's deeply emotional. Why? Because it affects us all. It affects us all. And why does this affect us all? Because it's so important. Because the reality of the struggle between work and family actually deeply affects all of us. And so if you don't feel like a talk like this applies to you, what if I said that the information that you are going to learn today, the opportunity to think about this reality, could change the trajectory of your life, your future spouse, the relationship with your future children, and even how your future children parent their children, your grandkids? What if I said that this could change it? Because it can, if you would take the time to consider what we're going to talk about today. Now, back to the subject. There simply isn't enough time to get everything done in the way that we would like to get it done. And every single week, there's just simply not enough time for me to talk about everything I want to get in. But, I see the clock going down. Here we go. But if you decide you have a hobby, right, that takes up your time, and there isn't enough room to do everything. And so consequently, life is all these like give and takes, this cheating on these little things. And for instance, like you cheat on your golf game. Any golfers out here? You cheat on your golf game so that you could do yard work, right? Because you're like, do the yard work. That's not how my wife sounds. But, you do your yard work, and you cheat on your golf game. We would all be like great golfers. Some of you cheat on a few hours of sleep to respond to a few emails. Some of you cheat on dinner to grab drinks with a new client or to stay late working on a specific subject. And we all cheat. We all do. We've all been given the exact amount of time, and so we have to choose where we're going to cheat on something because there isn't enough time to do it all. We all have to take a few minutes from this pursuit over here to go pursue this other thing over here, don't we? And we have to take some time from one arena in our life in order to give it to another arena of our life. But do you know what most of us aren't cheating on? You know what most of us aren't cheating on? Most of us are not cheating at work. If you are, you're going to get fired. But most of us aren't cheating at work. Most of us aren't cheating at work. And so because of this, we feel the tension between work and family. And the temptation for all of us is to cheat on family for work. And to be honest with you, I understand this temptation. I totally understand. If anyone is familiar with like strengths finders, my number 1 is futuristic, 2 strategic, 3 is achiever. So those are my top 3, which basically means I'm a workaholic. Okay, so that's not good. Okay, don't be like me. And so I understand this. If you're like me, if you get this, if you have this temptation at all in your life, I get this. Because here's what happens. You have 2 extra times to spend at work, and so what do? You spend the time on work. And you have something to show for it. After those 2 hours, maybe you have this project that you got done. You moved it a little forward. You made a couple connections. I finished a couple more paragraphs on my message. And you get it. You get something to show for it. And if you measure up in your own career, if you measure up enough, if you continue those things, what can happen in your career is you can advance in your career, right? And you can advance in your career, and you can get a better house. Your kids can get better clothes. You can get a better car, and maybe even a bigger house. And then for some of us, you can get even an award at the end of the banquet, right? At the end of the year banquet, right? You can get that award. Now, if you spend 2 hours at home, all you usually get is, 2 hours spent at home, right? Because nobody's measuring it. Nobody's handing out awards or a trophy at the end of the year for being a good parent, okay? If you're a good parent, no one's going to come up to you and be like, what, you want, a cookie? It's not going to happen. No one's going to do that for you. As a matter of fact, you probably won't see the effects of your presence in your home until much, much, much later. The problem is that at some point, you will see the effects of your absence. You will. And when you give to your employer, your small business, your own business, or any other arena of your life the time that belongs to your family, you're cheating. Don't call me a cheater, Phil. Okay, call it something else. The truth is we all cheat somewhere. We all cheat somewhere. Because we have to. We have to. We all take time, like I said, from one arena of life to pursue another. And in that regard, we're all cheating somewhere. So the question is, where are you cheating in your life? Where are you cheating? Who are you cheating? And probably the most important question of them all is this. And this is the real question to ask. Who feels cheated? Who in your life feels cheated? When we take a piece of ourselves that could be given to our family and we give it to our job, our family feels cheated. But here's the strange thing. Unlike the job, which will fire you, your family decides to love you And they understand, right? I understand. And so they do their best to deal with it and work through it. Some of you don't realize what what an awesome family you have, and is putting up with all your cheating. And then we pray things like this, don't we? We pray things like this. God, please be with my family while I'm over here advancing my career and making a living and providing for them, because, that's how dudes say they love their family. I bought you that car, Lord, I wish I could be with them more, but I have to make a living, so please fill in the gaps with my family while I honor you on the job. Think about that. We pray for God to watch over our family, a job we are the only person in the world capable of doing, in order to do a job that thousands of other people do. And be honest, some people do it better. It's just the truth. See, I don't believe God answers that kind of prayer. I really honestly do not. And here's why. Because I've never, ever, ever talked to someone whose relationship with their parents crumbled over the years who said to me, "It's okay, Phil. You don't have to feel bad for me. My dad was never there, but God filled in the pieces." No, I've never heard that. I've heard, yes, it hurts, but God has come and tried to help me, but it still hurts. It still hurts. The gap is there. I've never heard that kind of thing before. And why is that? Well, Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us this. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. What does this speak towards? In this context, today, really, what the scriptures speak of regarding work and family is this idea that God created both work and family. They're both his design, but work is task-focused and family is relationship-focused. Does that make sense? And work is about performing and doing, but family is about accepting and being. And so, if you get anything, it's this. You should do your job and love your family. You should do your job and love your family. Unfortunately, in this fast-paced culture that we live in, we can feel like the only way to get ahead on the job is to cheat at home. And so sometimes what we do is we reverse that, and what do? We love our job, and we kind of do family, don't we? And then that is where the tension begins. And the truth is, we don't even think that. If we were asked directly which was more important, we wouldn't even hesitate. If I asked you today which is more important, work or family, you would say family, right? Family. The idea that your work is more important than your family is not even in your heart. I know that, okay? So let's just admit that. We all get that. And I know for some of you, like, oh, you're really preaching to me. Like, if you feel guilty, it's not because you don't think family is supposed to be important. You just might be feeling it because the current season of your life tells you that you need to reevaluate some things. And I'm just, as a friend, I'm trying to come alongside you and tell you, hey, this is healthy. Let's embrace the awkwardness. And here's the issue, though. Here's the issue. Your family knows your heart, but it feels your schedule, right? Your family knows your heart, but at the end of the day, it feels your schedule. And even though your family knows your heart, it's your schedule that communicates emotionally. Every time that you ask them to be patient with you because your job is demanding and you need to do this or that, and it cuts into your time with them, what you're communicating to them is this. And I don't even like to hear this because my wife will say this to me all the time. And I'm saying it to you, not because I agree with it, not because I own it, but because it's true. And what you're communicating when you do that is this. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry, daughter. But all these other people, all these other tasks, I love you, but they're more important than you. That's what you're saying. That's what I am saying. Because they may know my heart, but they feel my schedule. I like what one author who has written about a great deal of this subject wrote. He said, our knee-jerk reaction to answer the call of this our knee-jerk reaction is to answer the call of the squeakiest wheel. Whoever creates the biggest mess ends up with the lion's share of our time and attention. We run from fire to fire, troubleshooting our way through life, rescuing the needy and rewarding those who can't seem to stay out of trouble. But that certainly isn't strategic, and it doesn't solve anything. Over time, our families learn that the only way to get our attention is to create a crisis. Oh, why that's always funny. Sorry, I had to blow my nose. So how do we realign this tension? How do we work a balance between work and family the way that God designed it? I just want to give you a couple just helpful things. It's working for me, at least in part. And so, first thing is to admit the unhealthy pace. Admit the unhealthy pace. We have invented all kinds of things that help us live faster, haven't we? We've invented cars and planes to get us faster. We have fast food so we can eat faster. And at some point, we decided that fast food wasn't enough, so we put a window on the side of the building because who has actually time to get outside of the car and go inside to eat? Meet me halfway. And then we have instant coffee, right, which is terrible. But if we have it, my dad drank it all grown up. So nasty. We have instant music right on your iPad, on your iPod. And now we just don't have cell phones, we have smartphones, right? Fortune magazine had an article that said that the average American worker is interrupted every 11 seconds by their smartphone. Made a lot of people pretty dumb. It used to be that we could go to work and then we would come home and it was a place of rest and peace. But then we decide, hey, let's build home offices. So we can now go to work and then we work on the way home and then we get home and thank God we can work some more, right? And then so we get so frustrated with not having a place to relax that we invented Starbucks. Which is like having a living room that we don't even own. And then we go there, right? And then they offer free Wi-Fi. So now we also do work there. So we love to work. And we're so addicted to hurry and to stress and noise that we don't even like it when it's quiet. Awkward. We get up to the alarm clock, listen to the radio on the way to work, and walk all day, and then we talk on the phone on the way home, and then we get up and go home, and he goes, I need a break. And so what do? We go for a run, and we listen to music, and we keep on listening to music, and we go for a run, and then we get home out from being in nature, and we can't sleep because it's so quiet. Some of you, I don't get that. And then we turn on nature noises from Sharper Image. Ecclesiastes 4:6 says this. Better to have one handful of quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. Better to have only one with quietness than to have two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. Can we just stop and just admit that this is an unhealthy pace that most of us are living at? I mean, I've heard it said many times that life is a marathon. You've ever heard that, right? Well, I'm starting to hate that phrase because life is not a marathon. Life is a series of sprints and resting, to be honest. It's a series of sprints and then resting. The problem is that most of us are not resting. We're just sprinting, and then we're saying, I'm on a marathon. And like, you can't breathe anymore, and you're wondering why you feel like you want to die. Because you haven't rested yet. And so there's no margin in our lives. Just take church as an example. Let's say it takes you 20 minutes to get to church. What if you decided to take 30 minutes to come to church? How would that change your day? You wouldn't scream at your kids in the car, or maybe you still would. And you drive dangerously the whole way here and fly into service at breakneck speed. You wouldn't do that. And then you wouldn't get here so late and go like, man, I wish they did music at this place. All they do is preaching. Yeah, actually, we do. You were late. And then there's another group of us here who are called early leavers. And as soon as the pastor says, amen, it's like, ready, set, go! I see you leave. And it's like you go out of here like Angry Birds. Right out the door. You know, and in your mind, if it's valid, it's true. I'm not hating on you. It's true. You got so much you got to do today. I know you got so much you got to do. Bump, bump, bump. Right? NFL. And then we start to wonder why this God. Here's the funny thing. And then we wonder why this God thing isn't working out so well for us. I'm just really not connecting with that. It's not really friendly. It's not really, I just really connected. I just don't really feel connected. I don't really feel like I'm connecting with anyone there. And so this is what we talk about. You know, I don't really feel like God's really there. And this is what we do, right? And you say, like, I came in, I got my shot of Jesus. I didn't have time for music. I got the gist of the talk, and now I got to go home. As one of my friends says, you know, I came to church, I got my holy on. I'm good. Let's just admit that somewhere along the way, something in our lives has gotten out of alignment. And we need to reprioritize. Second, determine what is most important. At some point, you have to make a decision about where you're going to cheat and if it's actually worth it. If you want to achieve balance between work and family, then you have to have a shift in your mindset and then make the determination that your family is worth cheating your employer out of overtime, the extra meetings, the extra weekends, or whatever it is that is cheating on your family. You might be a stay-at-home mom, but maybe you just need to let that floor be dirty and go and play with your kids. Because if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a stay-at-home dad, I was a stay-at-home dad for a season of my life. And that can be your work too. And you can kid yourself that, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a stay-at-home dad, and all the while your kids are saying, hey, pay attention. Well, someone's got to clean this mess. Well, someone's got to be a dad to your kid. Someone's got to be a mom to your kid too. So just don't just point your finger to the spouse that actually has a job and you're stay-at-home. So this is for everyone. This is for everybody. Listen to what Solomon says about this. He had everything. Solomon was this great king, and he had everything that most of us spend our lives trying to acquire and pursue. And then here's what he says. Here's what he says about everything. Ecclesiastes 2:10-11. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, this is him at his end of his life. And some of you, you're on that second half of your life and you totally get this. It's all meaningless. Like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. All those conference calls, all that overtime, all those extra hours, meaningless. Jesus asked a similar question to bring perspective to our priorities. In Mark 8:36, he said, "And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but lose your soul?" Essentially, Jesus says, was it worth it? And if we were to get to the end of our lives and have all the stuff that we wanted, but realize that we had lost our family, we would say, no. It wasn't worth it. And so the encouragement is this: determine now what is most important to you. Determine now, figure that out. And I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I am saying it to make you aware. Aware. And many of you, your spouse, like my spouse, when they try to encourage you in this, they're not trying to make you feel guilty. They're just trying to let you know. Trying to make you aware. Because one day I'm going to blink and my baby Brennan, who was 8 years old right now, is going to be 18. And I don't want to miss out on the lives with my kids, my family, because I had to cheat on them with work. 3, how you make this work? Well, you have to create a specific plan for your time. The number one determining factor of your loyalty to your family is your time. And good intentions don't translate into feelings of acceptance and love. Let me say that again. Good intentions do not translate into feelings of acceptance and love. Some of you think that you can have, my intentions are in the right place. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't translate. You have to sit down. You have to look at your calendar. Set some boundaries. This is going to require you to be very specific. Some of you who are close to me, who've seen my calendar, you'll look, and it's a hot mess, but it's specific, and there are times in there it says family time. Do I know what I'm doing there? I have no idea, but I'm setting it aside because I know why? They need it. I need it. We need it. Okay, you need to do that. You need to set some time. And what does that look like for you? What does that look like for you? That's the big question. Proverbs 21:5 says this, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes to poverty. Listen, a $2,000 vacation is way cheaper and a lot more fun than child support. Okay? It is. A date night is a lot more cheaper. Date night is a lot more cheaper than a divorce. Some of you have been through divorce. You know what I'm talking about. I watched my parents go through it. As an adult, I get it. And that's the reality. We have all these excuses. And listen, my kids will never remember how many people were in church today. Okay, so let's walk, I'll let you into my world. Some of the metrics that pastors get the opportunity to have in their life is the idea, like how many people showed up. My kids will never remember how many people were here today. But they will remember tonight if I was there to tuck them in. Because tonight, unlike most Sunday nights where I'd be working at TGI Fridays, by the way, I quit. We're going to be starting a student ministry here in a couple weeks. So I quit to start that. But we're going to pray that God provides, because I don't know. But they're going to remember tonight. Listen, they're going to remember tonight because that's something that usually doesn't happen. I guarantee you're going to remember. Why? They don't give a care about my work. They care about me. And so I have to sit down on my calendar. I have to create a plan. And here are a few practical tips that are working for my family that may work for yours. I don't know if it may work for you, but here's just some that are working for us. Look. Here's one thing you can do. You can plan the family calendar before you plan your work calendar. Plan the family calendar before you plan your work calendar. Get out your family calendar, plot out the can't miss dates. And regarding your family, some of you are good at this. Some of you are really good at this. We have this thing that we use for scheduling people for serving, and I look on there, and you've blacked out your dates all the way to like 2020. 2012 is backwards, but 2020, right? Some of you, I'm like, hey, what are you going to do next week? You going to serve next week? Well, I don't really know what we're doing that weekend. Like, what do you mean you don't know what you're doing that week? You don't literally know what you're doing. Some of you need to actually just be proactive with your calendar. And whether this is vacation or a weekly event that you do together, plan everything else around those events. When those are already plotted on the calendar, as work things comes up, it makes it easy for you to say no to work things because your family already planned something. Second, establish some family traditions and adventures. What are your traditions that you remember from when you were a kid? I mean, what are the memories that cause you to look back with fondness on your childhood? Those are the things that connect us through the years, don't they? And so, we are building memories whether we want to or not. And here's the question: are they good memories or are they bad memories? My wife and I want to make sure that our home is not a vague blur in the backstory of our kids' lives. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are committed to making sure that our home life isn't this blur because of the ineffective and distortion and all the messed up that it was that our kids as adults have to go, I don't really want to think about it. I'm an adult now and I'm trying to, be an adult. We're committed to making sure that the home life is something that they can remember for the rest of their life, that actually makes them everything that we hope God wants them to be. Someday our kids will hopefully say things like, every first day of school we did this, every birthday we did this, every holiday we did this. And so the encouragement is to do something, right? Build blanket forts in your basement. Sleep in a tent in the backyard. Play hide and seek in the dark. Have a weekly family dinner together. Tuck your kids in at night. Do something. Last, not least, and this seems common sense, but we just need reminding that we need to leave work at work, right? We need to leave work at work. And I am living proof that it is very possible to be home and not be home. And I think we all experience that from time to time. But the scriptures tells us this. Proverbs 4, look straight ahead. Fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. What is this saying? What this is saying is this. It's a reminder to live in the moments of your life. It's a reminder to keep the main thing, to be present, to stay focused on what is most important in your life, to not become distracted on paths that will take you where you don't want to go. So if it's your work, if it's your family, it's understanding that, hey, if you're a student, all the high school drama that isn't really the most important things, your family, your close-knit of friends that actually do love you, those are the most important things in your life. For those of you, it's not your work, it's not your job, it's your family, it's the most important things of your life. This is a reminder to stay focused on the most important things. And here are a couple ways to stay focused, because everyone who's close to me knows that I totally stay focused squirrel. So take it from me. If it's working for me, it'll work for, look at the clock. Anyways, I'm playing wrong. Face the people you're talking to, okay? Face the people you're talking to. Let them see your eye contact. Shut off your internal dialogue and give them your undivided attention. This is hard for me. Sometimes people talk and I'm like, I have something great to say about that. And some of you actually work with people who actually do this out loud. Like you tell them about your life and then they just go into this tirade of how their life is related to everything that you just talked about, right? I just visited someone in the hospital this week and she had this anxiety attack. And she was telling me about how this co-person at work came and said, what's the matter? When she didn't have anxiety attack, she actually had an allergic reaction. She was like, her tongue, she couldn't breathe. They had to put an EpiPen in her. And so she was like dying. And this lady comes up and goes, you must have hot flashes. Well, this week I had hot flashes and blah, blah, blah. And she went and she's sitting there going, and then when she realized, she goes, you're not doing too good. Okay. And she just walked away. Like some of us do that, right? Some of us just do that on the inside. We think about what we're going to say. But here's what I want to encourage you to do. Don't think about anything. Just listen. Here's a moment of just complete transparency. I've actually had moments in my life where my kids come up and they take their grubby, nasty fingers and hands and come up to me and go, Dad! Ooh. And well, some of you woke up. Dad! They grab my face and they go, you're not listening to me. And then I look at my wife and she goes, face the people you're talking to. Here's an idea. Ditch your cell phone when your family's in the car. I'm not saying this is what the Bible says. Okay, don't go back saying, the pastor said the Bible says we need to not have a car. No, I'm just some advice. Many of us get in the car and we think we're with our family, but we're just with them because we're on the phone, right? Note to parents. when you are in the car with your kids, they are trapped. And this is the time to talk with them and laugh with them and sing and point out things. Some of you are like, my kids will never talk to me. Well, that's because you have a history to work out with because you ain't talking to them before. So like it would be awkward, I'll go and say, hey, how's your day? Like, Mom, are you okay? And like, I just want to see how your day's doing. Oh, it was the same thing it was yesterday. Oh my gosh, Snapchat. Oh, right? And so you have something to work with because you haven't committed an environment that this happens. But do it anyways. Work at it. And you know what? I'm not an electronics expert. I know I'm Asian. But somewhere, phones have on and off buttons, maybe. I don't know. I just read that somewhere. Finish your call before you walk into the house. When you get home, your family is excited to see you. Don't communicate that they are less important than your work. When it comes right down to it, our inability to leave work at work is not as much of a work issue as much as it is a faith issue. And this has been a problem for many, many years. And this primarily becomes that we think of ourselves as the savior of our companies or like the one who's going to make it work. And I have really bad news for you. You are very replaceable. And your family will probably put up with less income to have you in their life. They would rather have relational security than financial security. I'm just taking a guess. And so what if we prayed, God, my family comes first, so please come fill in the gaps at work where I fall short, because I will not cheat my family. Last, make adjustments each season. There's going to be different seasons of your life, and you'll be required to tweak this balance throughout your life to fit the season of life that you're in, okay? Don't set it and leave it. Have an ongoing conversation about the season of your life that you're headed into and how to work out the balance of life and family in that season. And there's not really much more to say that, but you just have to be proactive about it. It has to be something that you evaluate. Does that make sense? Because life is very different when you've got 2 small kids as opposed to when you now have 2 kids in grade school. And then life is very different as when you have kids in grade school than when you're empty nesting, right? Dan and Anna, life is awesome when the kids are out of the house. Some of you are like, no, my kids, I love them. I never want them to leave. And all the kids are like, I am leaving. Let me close with this verse. I know I'm running out of time here. Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30. Jesus was speaking to his disciples, and he wasn't really speaking to them exactly in the moment that they're in, but really he was speaking towards, I think, a pervasive thing that happens in the lives of all human beings is that we tend to take on burdens that are just too heavy. And so Jesus says this. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. So some of you, that's actually, everything that I said didn't matter, but this is actually what you need to hear. Because some of you are carrying like immense, heavy burdens, and you do not know where in the world it's going to come from. Jesus says that he wants to give you rest. And he says, take my yoke upon you. Take my burden upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. That's the message. Jesus wants us to have burdens that come from him, which when you embrace them, they are light. And I just want to encourage you to choose your family. Choose the burden of what that means. because you don't want to come at the end of your life and see yourself bearing the weight of what your work has done for you. That's just not, it's not what Jesus wants for you.